September 12th, Deborah Harkness is coming to town. And guess who's going there to see her? Me. Anyway, welcome. Grab a coffee. And let's figure out what we would call a fair society. Society is often defined via its institutions and laws. That's already problematic. Yes, it is, because it requires that some decisions about what information should be shared by all members of a group as hypotheses in their individual word generation process have already been made for them, without them having any say. There have to be laws and institutions to have a society. That's a decision that is made. In particular, we are speaking here about the nature of humans, because that's the basis for the decision to say we need laws and we need institutions. Only when your idea of man is that of Hobbes, you will get to the conclusion that people need constant supervision and the threat of punishment, or they'd be lazy and unable to get along. That's also the basis of Protestantism, basically. Let's be clear about it. There's absolutely no scientific evidence that this is true. On the contrary, we have plenty of evidence that humans are programmed to be active at all times and to support each other when not indoctrinated, so that they generate a model of a world which includes a different idea of man as a hypothesis. If you are told constantly man is bad, humans can't, humans are lazy, humans are whatever, then it will be part of the world you generate. By nature, we mirror, however. That means we unconsciously take data that we attach to other creatures and include it inside the part of a model of a world we draw a border around and call it self. Thus, our goals are always shared goals because we are one of and the same. The next person and us. In our mind already. Our self is generated like this. What makes sense because we are all part of the same universal wave function and there's no defecting against yourself. So, including a mechanism into the mind that will automatically prevent defecting is what we would expect to find given the mostly hypothetical basis of our mind's insights into the world. We use a lot of creativity and not real data to generate the model of a world. And so in this environment, everything could be true. So there have to be some basics to fall back on. And one of the basics is that you can't defect against yourself. So you have a mechanism that prevents it in your mind. And that's the mechanism that makes you use the same data for some other person and yourself, or some other animal and yourself as well. It's also present in monkeys, by the way. That's how we found out. Mirroring is interrupted by a sense of power. And that happens every time. Even the best politician, as soon as he gets, or if they get a sense of power, they will have this decline of mirroring, the decline of using the data from the other in creating themselves. The person then generates a model of a world in their mind that tells them that everyone else is less intelligent, dangerous, left to their own devices, and lazy, and therefore needs supervision. Their supervision. They are the ones sent to supervise the others because they are superior to everyone else. But that's not the norm. The norm is we mirror. And that means we support each other, have the same goals. So we shouldn't start our discussion about what constitutes a fair society a set of data all members can accept to use in their individual world generation process, so that their models of the world align to a degree that large-scale cooperation becomes possible, from a point where a direction has already been set, and therefore, and that's important, violence and or the threat thereof needed to enforce a decision forced on everyone else by a few has already been built into the result. When only a few decide what data should be used by all, and the other have no reason to accept it or even tolerate it, but the others want that everyone starts from the spaces, the only way to enforce this is with violence or the threat thereof. Police. You have a law, you go to prison. And already, everything that comes out in the end will have this threat of violence, this monopoly on violence in the institutions that shall be created through democratic means inbuilt. So the real thing to do is we should accept without prejudice the idea that there is no natural or neutral way to create and organize society. Not even the state or the economy as something that is natural or a neutral point to start from. Not even having these ideas in your mind that this needs to be part of the outcome. Our political, legal, economic, and social structures are the products of human choices. More often than not in the last 2000 plus years or even more, these were choices made by just a few people with their advantage in mind. And the decisions made about the set of data that should be used by everyone else in their world generation, that happens individually in everyone's head, that's not going to be enforced other than with violence or the threat of violence. Because there will always be people who will be disadvantaged, and why should they accept it unless they are forced to? So there are choices made about what set of data people in the society share when they create their individual models of the world to align them to some degree, and this is all a human choice. Once we accept that they are human choices, everything from the beginning, we can't but understand that it is within our power to change the data sets. It's within all our powers, not in any way. And our ancestors did this. They switched between different ways of organizing their societies, fitting the needs of the moment. At one point, we just stopped. There are reasons for that, but we are not going into them right now. But there was the switch, and we can still see echoes of it in carnivals today, or in the summer break where everyone leaves town, or in the way we celebrate Christmas in Christmas parties in the business where up is down and everyone is the same. That are echoes of what was once normal. So everyone has the chance to change the data set, and especially we as a group can do it. At that point, and that the opinion of every member of a society about what the data set should and should not include must have the equal weight in its creation from step one. We will discuss why this is necessary, and it goes back to the point that you have to buy into it. And you mind? It's hard to check whether you do it. So the only way you can be sure that it is done is when you have everyone agree to it. And it's possible. There are ways and roles that found them, and it has to find them, and we will talk about them. For now, tell me, can you accept the idea of society as a shared data set, and that any fair version of it must be truly democratic from square one? Yes or no? Tell me.